My younger sister decided her periods were too much trouble and demanded the hospital remove her uterus completely. I tried explaining that removing healthy organs would definitely affect her body and no legitimate hospital would perform such an inappropriate surgery. She wouldn't listen and secretly contacted an underground clinic mom, and I stopped her and reported the illegal doctor. Later, she married into wealth after having twins, accumulating millions in assets, and living a perfect life. But then she stole the $80,000 inheritance Dad specifically left for me and administered medicine me. Delivered me to the operating table of that same illegal doctor who'd just gotten out of prison. Our family has a fortune that needs heirs, so I need uterus to continue the bloodline. I'll never have the privilege of getting it removed. That luxury is only for you, she said. The doctor picked up a blood-stained needle, laughing as he injected me with anesthesia. The surgical tools weren't sterilized. I got infected with a terrible disease. My body covered in sores until I died in despair. When I opened my eyes again, I'd been reborn to the day my sister was angrily demanding the hospital remove her uterus. In my previous life, she caused such a scene at the hospital that I had to call Mom, the only person who could intimidate her, to take her home. This time around, I won't help her keep the uterus she hates so much. Hey sis, aren't you in medical school? Why don't you just do the surgery for me? I'll save on medical bills. And you can take care of me afterward. Isn't that what you're learning in medical school anyway? How to care for people. Emma's arrogant voice snapped me back to reality. She was pointing her finger at me with that pretty little face of hers, acting all entitled. I laughed inside at her ignorance. That's definitely not possible. I'm studying traditional Chinese massage therapy. And I'm just a student. How could I possibly perform major surgery? Don't you have a brain? Emma snorted. You always claim you're smarter than me with better grades. You've studied for so many years and can't even do this simple surgery? Mom's wasting all that tuition money on you when she could be paying for my manicures instead. I raised an eyebrow. If you're determined to do this, there might be another way. Some clinics can perform surgeries. A simple procedure like this shouldn't be too risky. Emma's eyes lit up. Why didn't you say so earlier? Where are these clinics? Tell me quickly. I've just heard about them, but I don't know exactly where they are. She looked disappointed. Then what's the point of even mentioning it? You're so useless. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I didn't actually have the contact information for that shady doctor, but it didn't matter. When she was making a scene at the hospital, that fake doctor had already noticed her. Soon, they would reach out to her directly, offering to perform the uterus removal. I just wanted to reduce her suspicions in advance, making her more willing to undergo the procedure quickly. In my previous life, I personally experienced how terrifying that illegal clinic was. Their technology, equipment, sterilization, and ability to handle emergencies were all substandard. Whether you'd even survive the surgery was unknown. A few days later, Emma called me. I have an appointment to consult with a clinic on Thursday morning. Make sure you take time off to come with me. If it looks good, I'll consider scheduling the surgery. Though I hated her entitled tone, I didn't refuse. I wanted to witness firsthand how she would step by step lead herself into the abyss. At the clinic, she registered outside while I entered the room first. A woman doctor with silver-framed glasses, cold features, and paper-white skin sat in the consultation room. It was Chen, the same doctor who had used me as a guinea pig in my previous life and infected me with that horrible disease. She looked up, her narrow eyes forcing out an emotionless smile. I'm so glad you also disliked your uterus. This primary female organ. Enlightened women will be rewarded. Welcome, welcome. I steadied myself and shook my head. It's not for me. It's for my sister. Her expression immediately darkened. What? You're not doing it? Why not? The uterus is just a burden for women. After removal, you'll never have annoying periods again. And you won't have to worry about fibroids, cervical cancer, or other common gynecological problems. Since you've come to my clinic, how come you don't understand this? I waved my hand dismissively. Who would remove their uterus without medical necessity? First, abdominal surgery carries significant risks and takes a long time to recover. Second, The uterus is a body organ, and removing it carelessly can cause pelvic floor relaxation, organ displacement, urinary incontinence, and intestinal obstruction. Those ailments aren't any more comfortable than having periods. The woman gave a mocking smile. I see you're also in the medical field. However, don't think that learning some textbook knowledge gives you the right to dictate what others do with their uteruses. The uterus has been the primary reason women have been reduced to breathing tools for thousands of years. Every woman should have the freedom to remove her uterus. Hospitals refusing to do so is an evil act that overrides personal autonomy. I am the chosen messenger sent by God to help women exercise this right. Now, the gates to paradise are open for you. How can you still hesitate? I pretended to be frightened by her fanaticism and backed away.
No, no, no.
No, I'm too scared to try such pioneering actions. Emma had just finished registering and walked in. Seeing my reaction, she immediately pushed me aside with her head held high. Doctor, you're speaking directly to my heart. A woman having a uterus is like wearing shackles or being trapped in a cage. Any woman with a brain wouldn't want such a dramatic and dirty organ in their body. After she finished, they both looked at me cowering in the corner as if I were garbage. It was like removing a uterus was some great advancement for all humanity. And women like me, who didn't share this view, were just remnants of outdated thinking. And just like that, Emma, who had still been hesitating, decided to immediately undergo uterus removal surgery to show off how progressive and bold she was compared to me. Emma proudly entered the operating room while I was led to wait in the recovery room. The surgery proceeded quickly in that moldy, dim operating room. After about 45 minutes, they wheeled her into the windowless, dark recovery room. Her once rosy, full face had turned as white as paper. And that organ she despised so much, the one that would have helped her achieve a rich and fulfilling life in my previous timeline, was now permanently separated from her body. As the anesthesia wore off, she was full of excitement and pride. Ha ha ha. I'll never have periods again or suffer from menstrual cramps. I can eat ice cream and drink cold beverages whenever I want. That's not all. The female doctor encouraged, you'll never have to pay the price of childbearing, nor will you be manipulated by maternal hormones. You can freely enjoy a life lived only for yourself. She then took out the human tissue soaking in formaldehyde. Look at this ugly piece of rotting flesh. Now you've completely abandoned it. Congratulations on completing your life's transformation. Emma gave me a smug look. Stupid sister. You're such a coward for not daring to get this amazing surgery. Mom and I are the same. We have courage and determination.
We do whatever we set our minds to.
We're clear-headed, rational women who control our own destinies. Unlike you, following rules your whole life. Not even brave enough to experience the happiness of removing your uterus. So pathetic. I gave her a thumbs up in admiration. Honestly, I genuinely respected her boldness.
Emma.
Emma was Dr. Chen's first uterus removal patient, so she took especially attentive care of her. They quickly became close friends who shared everything, which saved me from having to take care of Emma myself. I returned to school, but couldn't enjoy 2 peaceful days before she called again. Hey, Mom wants me to bring her some clean clothes at her workplace, but I'm still recovering. You need to take them to her this afternoon. In my previous life, Mom had used the excuse of having Emma deliver clothes to arrange a chance encounter that made the heir to the Song Corporation, James Song, fall in love with my sister at first sight. The wheels of fate had begun turning, but her romantic garden meeting with James had now become nothing but a bubble that had burst into thin air. I took the garment bag from her without argument. Emma lounged on the sofa, one hand lazily pressed against the bandages on her abdomen while scrolling through luxury handbags on her phone. Be careful with Mom's white suit, she said smugly. She's meeting important clients today. Don't embarrass her. I almost laughed. In my previous life, Emma had spent 3 hours picking an outfit before going to Mom's company. She'd intentionally, accidentally spilled coffee on herself in the lobby bathroom. Then James Song had appeared at the perfect moment with his assistant and offered her his own suit jacket. That single encounter turned into a fairy tale romance. But this time, she was pale, bloated, stitched up, and barely able to stand upright. By the time I arrived at the company building, I spotted the familiar black luxury car parked outside. James Song had already arrived.
Tall.
Elegant. Cold-faced. Even from a distance, he radiated the effortless arrogance of someone born at the top. Several female employees were secretly peeking at him from the reception desk. In my previous life, Emma had coincidentally fallen right into his arms outside the elevator. Today, she wasn't here, and fate didn't wait for people who missed their cue. I calmly handed Mom her clothes and prepared to leave when a shrill voice suddenly echoed through the lobby. "Wait for me." Emma stumbled through the revolving doors, drenched in sweat, clutching her stomach. Mom's face changed instantly. "Emma? Why are you here?" "I came because..." Emma gasped dramatically, trying to force a delicate expression onto her twisted face. "I wanted to surprise you." She took 2 more steps toward James Song. Then her knees buckled. The surgery wound on her abdomen had reopened. Bright red blood spread across her skirt with horrifying speed. The entire lobby fell silent. Emma collapsed face first onto the marble floor. James frowned and immediately stepped back to avoid the blood touching his shoes. Not concern. Disgust. Mom screamed and rushed over. "Call an ambulance." Emma clung to Mom's sleeve, tears streaming down her face. "It hurts, Mom. It hurts." But before anyone could move, a foul smell spread through the lobby. One employee covered her nose. Another whispered in horror, "Is that pus?" I lowered my eyes. Of course it was. That underground clinic had never properly sterilized their equipment. Infection was inevitable. Emma was rushed to the hospital. The diagnosis came quickly. Severe pelvic infection. Internal tissue necrosis. Bloodstream contamination. The doctor's expression was grim. If she had come any later, she could have died. Mom looked like lightning had struck her. How could this happen? The surgery was supposed to be safe. The attending physician's face instantly darkened. What surgery? Which hospital performed a full hysterectomy on a healthy young woman? Silence. Emma trembled violently in the hospital bed. Mom finally realized something was wrong. "Emma, where exactly did you go for surgery?" Emma instinctively looked toward me. I immediately stepped back, eyes wide with innocence. "You arranged everything yourself. You said enlightened women shouldn't listen to outdated rules." The doctor nearly exploded from anger. A healthy 23-year-old removing her uterus electively in an illegal clinic? Are you insane? Mom's lips trembled. No, she was just confused for a while, but the nightmare had only begun. The infection destroyed Emma's endocrine system. Her skin rapidly deteriorated. Her hair began falling out in clumps. She gained weight uncontrollably due to hormonal collapse. Her emotions became unstable and violent. Worst of all, the surgery had damaged surrounding organs. She developed urinary incontinence. At first it was occasional leakage. Then, eventually, she needed adult diapers daily. The wealthy social circle she desperately wanted to marry into treated her like a joke. No rich family wanted a woman constantly carrying medical complications and lifelong health risks. The Song family especially avoided her entirely after hearing about the illegal surgery scandal. I still remember the day Mom came home from another failed matchmaking dinner. She stared at Emma sitting on the couch in stained sweatpants and suddenly burst into tears. "You ruined yourself." Emma snapped instantly. "This is your fault, too." She hurled a glass vase across the room. "You always favored her. You forced me to compete my entire life." Mom screamed back, "I forced you to remove your uterus?" The two of them descended into constant screaming matches after that. And then came the final blow. Police arrested Dr. Chen. Several women had died from post-surgical infections at the underground clinic. Authorities uncovered mountains of evidence, including patient records, illegal organ trafficking, and unlicensed experimental procedures. When the investigation reached Emma, reporters swarmed our neighborhood. "Miss Emma, is it true you voluntarily removed healthy organs? Were you part of the illegal surgery network? Did your family know?" Videos of Emma screaming at reporters while wearing a mask and hospital diapers spread everywhere online. She became infamous overnight. The progressive independent woman image she had bragged about turned into public ridicule. Mom stopped going outside entirely. Our relatives cut contact one by one out of embarrassment. And Emma? She completely broke. One night, I returned home to hear hysterical laughter from her bedroom. She sat before the mirror, staring at her bloated reflection with bloodshot eyes. Then she suddenly grabbed the fruit knife beside her. "You're the reason," she whispered. "If you had stopped me harder, if you had dragged me away, none of this would have happened." I looked at her calmly. In my previous life, while I died covered in infected sores, begging for mercy, she had laughed beside my operating table and called my suffering a privilege. So now I simply smiled faintly. "Emma," I said softly, "weren't you the one who said women should control their own destinies?" Emma's breakdown after that night only got worse. At first, Mom still tried protecting her. She hid the knives, locked the medicine cabinet, forced Emma into therapy. But nothing could stop the rot spreading through her life. The illegal surgery had destroyed more than her uterus. Scar tissue wrapped around her intestines like strangling vines. Her hormones crashed so violently that her mood swung from hysterical laughter to screaming rage within minutes. The infection had permanently damaged her kidneys, and the smell never fully disappeared. No matter how many perfumes she sprayed or how many scented candles Mom burned, there was always that faint sour scent of sickness lingering around her. Visitors stopped coming entirely. The wealthy friends she used to brag about blocked her number one by one. Even distant relatives refused invitations once rumors spread online about the crazy girl who mutilated herself in a basement clinic. Emma became trapped inside the house like a ghost haunting her own failed future. But she still blamed everyone except herself, especially me. Every time she saw me calmly leaving for school, returning with awards, speaking normally to people, existing without shame, her expression twisted more violently. One afternoon, she finally exploded. I had just walked through the front door when she hurled a ceramic mug at my head. It shattered against the wall beside me. "You think you won?" she shrieked. "You think you're better than me now?" Her greasy hair hung in clumps around her swollen face. Her skin was covered in stress rashes and acne from hormonal collapse. The expensive beauty treatments she once obsessed over could no longer hide what was happening to her body. I looked at her quietly. "You did this to yourself." That sentence destroyed whatever sanity she still had left. She lunged at me with both hands. Mom rushed in screaming and tried pulling her back, but Emma shoved her so hard she crashed into the dining table. Then Emma grabbed the kitchen knife. Her hands trembled violently as she pointed it at me. "You ruined my life." I didn't move. I simply looked her directly in the eyes and asked softly, "Didn't you say enlightened women should live only for themselves?" For a second, her entire face froze, because she remembered. She remembered standing over me in the previous life while I rotted alive from infection. Remembered smiling while I begged for help. Remembered calling my agony a privilege. The knife slipped from her hand.
Clang.
Then she collapsed onto the kitchen floor sobbing so hard she couldn't breathe. From that day on, something inside her truly snapped. She stopped bathing regularly.
Stopped sleeping.
Stopped opening the curtains. She spent entire nights scrolling through old photos of herself before the surgery, staring at her pretty face with vacant eyes. Sometimes Mom would hear her whispering to the phone screen. "I was beautiful. I was supposed to marry rich. I was supposed to win." Then came the live stream incident. Desperate for attention and validation, Emma went online one night ranting about women's liberation and medical discrimination. She claimed society was punishing her for being progressive enough to reject motherhood. At first, a few people watched out of curiosity. Then someone recognized her. The comments flooded instantly. "Isn't this the illegal surgery girl? She ruined her own body and now blames society, lol. Didn't multiple women die at that clinic? She looks terrifying now." Thousands of viewers piled in just to mock her. Someone screen recorded the stream. Clips spread everywhere. Emma spiraled in real time before the internet. She started screaming at commenters, crying, throwing things across her room, begging people to stop laughing at her. Then the live stream abruptly cut off. When Mom forced open the bedroom door later that night, the room looked like a disaster zone. Broken mirrors, blood on the floor, torn out hair scattered everywhere. Emma sat in the center of it all with glass embedded in her palms from smashing her vanity mirror with her bare hands. And she kept repeating the same sentence over and over. She stole my future, she stole my face, she stole everything. Mom finally sent her to a psychiatric hospital. But even there, Emma couldn't escape herself. Patients whispered about her. Nurses avoided her violent outbursts. She attacked 2 staff members during paranoid episodes and had to be restrained repeatedly. The medications caused more weight gain, more bloating, more tremors. Within a year, the girl who once spent hours admiring herself in mirrors no longer recognized the person staring back. Then one winter morning, the hospital called Mom urgently. Emma's kidneys had failed completely. Years of untreated infection and organ damage had finally caught up to her. Machines now breathed and filtered blood for the body she once bragged about liberating. Mom rushed to the hospital sobbing uncontrollably. I went too. Emma lay in bed swollen beyond recognition, tubes running through her arms and throat. Her lips were cracked white from dehydration. When she saw me enter, her eyes suddenly filled with hatred so intense it almost didn't look human anymore. Her fingers twitched weakly toward me. I stepped closer.
She tried to speak.
No sound came out except a wet, choking noise. But I could still read her lips perfectly. Why didn't you stop me? I looked at her silently for a long moment. Then I leaned down beside her ear and answered in the gentlest voice possible. Because this time, I wanted you to have exactly what you wanted. Her monitor immediately began shrieking.
Her pulse spiked wildly.
Panic flooded her eyes as the machines around her erupted into alarms. Nurses rushed in shouting orders while Mom screamed hysterically behind me. But Emma never took her eyes off me. Not even as blood leaked from the corner of her mouth. Not even as terror replaced the hatred in her face. And not even during the final moment when the monitor flattened into one endless tone. Her eyes remained open when she died.
Wide.
Disbelieving. As though she still couldn't accept that the abyss she fell into had been one she walked into willingly.